Hi guys! For anyone finding this video completely organically and not kind of in their timeline as I've uploaded it, obviously I'm not wearing tape, well not obviously, but I'm not wearing tape hair extensions right now. As we go through the video, I'll talk a little bit about the hair extensions that I had a month or two ago and just kind of the experience that I had with them, cost, how comfortable they are, all that stuff. But I have taken them out now. I didn't really want to make the video at the time because I didn't know how long they would last, first of all, and how easy they would be to remove. And I did remove them myself. I wasn't supposed to. I was told to go back to the salon to have them removed, but there's a couple of things. I kind of thought that maybe I should have them done professionally because then I could give you a really all-round kind of service review and tell you about damage and just how that was done. But also there's that DIYer in me that knows for a fact if I wasn't doing the video I would remove them myself, and if I was watching a video like this I would want to know, one, if you could remove them yourself, and two, how you did it and how easy it was. So I did take them out myself and it was really easy. I would say there was no damage to my hair whatsoever, and I'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, let's talk about application. So I actually had a lot of hair applied. The GL apps, which are basically the great lengths version of tape hair extensions, that's what they're called, GL apps, like application, are just kind of really small, you'll see in the video, but really small little kind of wefts that are very flat, and they have effectively double-sided sticky tape on them. And so they take a real small part of your hair like this, and they put one on the top and one on the bottom, and your hair is sandwiched between two wefts of hair. And it's a very small amount of your hair. And so there's a very small amount of your hair that's actually got that kind of tension on it. I would be careful with it when I brushed my hair. I did hold the top of the extension just because I was very aware that I could be pulling on my real hair. But I really don't think that they were particularly damaging. And even with my bleached hair, that is obviously going to be slightly more damaged and slightly weaker than your average non-bleached hair, I really didn't feel like they were damaging at all. So they're very small and they're very flat to your head. They were applied in that way and then kind of pressed on to make sure that they were really stuck together. Now, one thing that I didn't really hear from other people's reviews was how sticky they were. After maybe one or two washes, because initially they were totally dry, just as you would imagine they would be. Like when they were first stuck onto my head, they were totally dry and completely fine, and just okay. But as I wore them, I found that they got really sticky. So the glue, I would imagine, was kind of melting and it really wasn't setting again. So that was a little bit uncomfortable. For some people, that would be really off-putting and a total deal breaker, like no, I can't have that, because it didn't really feel like my hair was clean. The top section was fine, as they didn't really start until kind of here on my head, but all the back of my hair, it was kind of a little bit grimy feeling. So that's not going to be for everyone. But the only thing with that, my experience is that I immediately went to a hot climate. I had them fitted and a week later I went to Las Vegas when there's hot sun, which we don't have in the UK all that much, but there's hot sun on you all the time, and I do feel like that heat could have attributed to or contributed to that glue situation. I would love to hear from those of you that have had these kind of applications, see whether or not you experienced that as well, because it doesn't seem like something that people talk about, but I thought it was worth mentioning because I experienced it quite early on and all through really having them in after about a week. Actually shampooing your hair is not as difficult as you would think. I mean, you can't get it, like I say, really clean. You don't get that really clean feeling. Part of the problem that I had was because I did have to have so many extensions in. And the reason for that is because I had quite a blunt bob. And she did chop into it ever so slightly, but not too much. I didn't kind of get too many layers in there that I didn't want. She didn't kind of shatter my hair completely, which is what we'd initially discussed, because she didn't want to ruin the shape of my hair and my actual haircut once the extensions came out, because it was a temporary thing. So she managed to kind of get around that, but I really did have to curl my hair for it to blend well. Otherwise you really, at the back especially and on one side, you could really tell that kind of my hair ended and the extensions began. But that was all because of my haircut. If you have hair that's kind of tapered and more layered and the ends of your hair are going to be thinner, or if you have slightly longer hair, it's going to blend so much better. My hair was not the ideal hair for this application, which again is quite a testament because I really loved them. I think when I did have my waves in, which are really easy to maintain, in extensions, especially the GL apps. They just hold the curl really, really well. I felt like they looked really natural. Some people would disagree. It all depends on how recently I'd brushed it. It really did get kind of wiggy over time. If I didn't take the time to brush it kind of several times a day, throughout the day, my hair would just kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, this all comes down to the fact that I had a lot of extensions in, more extensions than you would normally have, because we were trying to cover that bob. So that probably is partly why I had that kind of stickiness in the back as well, because they were really, really packed in, and I probably had more than you normally would have. So that was just one of the things. But washing my hair, I just used something that didn't have sulfates in it for a shampoo, and I made sure that my conditioner didn't get anywhere near the bonds. I lost one weft, I think, across the whole of having them in for around 6 weeks. I lost one weft. And after losing that, I realised how easy they were going to be to actually remove, because I basically just peeled them apart in my hair, the stickers. I peeled the stickers apart and they just kind of came out of my hair. This one weft that had become loose, but that was the only one that I had an issue with. And when I came to remove them, I just put tons and tons of oil in my hair and kind of left it to settle in my hair for maybe like 10-15 minutes. And then I started to remove them, and I just peeled them apart and they came out of my hair really, really easily. That's not to say that they didn't feel secure, because they absolutely did. I'm sure that I didn't need to be holding my head every single time I brushed my hair. That was just kind of me being really paranoid about damaging my own hair. But yeah, they felt really, really secure. I never felt like they were falling out or getting loose at all. I think I probably could have left them in for another couple of weeks. I really wanted to leave them as long as possible. The reason that I didn't leave them for longer was the colour. The colour was a major issue for me, and again, this is something that people mentioned in videos. Prior to having them fitted, I went for a colour matching session, and anyone that's been blonde will know it's really difficult to keep your blonde hair looking the same from week to week, because it gets brassier over time, and then you tone it and then it gets really, really white or much, much blonder, more ashy, not as golden and yellow, and it's really difficult to keep a consistent blonde colour. So I went in and got colour matched. In the meantime, I got my roots done and my toner done again, and then it looked completely different. My hair was almost white, and by comparison the extensions looked yellow, which they really, really weren't. And I mean, in the actual photos you'll see of me having them kind of before and after, I don't think it was that noticeable. It's just in certain lights and things I felt like the tone was quite a contrast. Once I actually got in the sun whilst we were on holiday, my own whiter hair got quite yellow and brassy. So then it matched really well whilst we were on holiday, so that was really good. But yeah, that was really the only reason that I ended up taking them out, because I tried to tone the extensions and they didn't budge at all. You can colour them, safe to colour them, and you can take them back and have them coloured before you have them re-put in, or reapplied, sorry, which I'll talk about reapplication in a second, but they didn't really tone. So I think that, I mean, toner really is only designed for bleach. If you have blonde coloured hair, a toner is not really going to touch it at all. It's only going to tone bleach. And so if those extensions were coloured that blonde colour, it was never going to do anything with it. So my hair was basically two different colours, and I had to remove them. There was no other reason to remove them, and I think I probably could have got 8+ weeks of wear out of those extensions. One other thing to notice, or to mention, to note, part of the reason that I also felt that they looked a little bit wiggy on me was that when I initially had them applied, I left them as long as I possibly could, as in like the length of the hair, because when she'd put them in I thought, wow, this is amazing, they look so good, and you want to keep as much of the length as possible. But a week in I realised it was really impractical for me. There's a reason I had my hair cut short in the first place, and that's because it's just so much easier to look after than long hair, and I wasn't used to having all that hair. And so I also felt like it just didn't suit me. It just kind of dwarfed me because I'm quite petite. Short. Let's just tell it. I'm short, and so it made me kind of almost look shorter. It was just an odd length on me, and I couldn't go back to the place that I'd had them fitted before I went on holiday. So I kind of just went to the first place that would actually cut hair extensions, which was really difficult to find where I live. Just nobody would do anything with them. But I went to the first place, and she just didn't do a very good job of cutting them. So they didn't look great. The ends of the hair was really quite blunt, and it just wasn't a very good cut. The initial cut that I got was great because she kind of feathered it out, and it just kind of was thinned rather than cut. She thinned it out to make it look more natural. And if I had them fitted again, which I've definitely not ruled out, then I would definitely have them shorter. That's one thing, if you are thinking of going from something really short like I have to having extensions, just be kind of practical. I know we want to keep all the length when you've got them in, but be practical and think, really, I probably should have had them to about here, and this would have been more natural looking, easier to maintain and look after, and if I'd had that done as soon as I had them applied, they would have just looked so much better. I wouldn't have had to go to this like backstreet barber and have them chopped and not look as good. So that is just one other thing for those of you that were kind of thinking they didn't look maybe as good as they could have looked. That's part of the reason as well. It was the colour and the fact that I had them cut afterwards. Otherwise, I was really, really happy with them. The actual application itself probably took around 3 hours. Again, I had a lot fitted. It would be less if you didn't have a really drastic kind of blunt cut like me. If I had them fitted again now, I would have less put in, purely because my hair is longer and it wouldn't need as much to kind of blend out that bob. You can have them reapplied. I don't know what they do with them. They like cleanse them and make sure that they're in good condition and retape them, and then I would have them refitted. And this is where the price gets a little bit hazy, because to have what I had done would have cost in the region of £500. But to have them reapplied, I'd be looking at more like £150. So it's a huge outlay. It's very, very expensive to have them fitted because of the amount that I needed. If you were just looking for a little bit of length or a little bit of volume, they would be perfect, absolutely ideal. If you wanted to add some kind of funky colours in your hair, that's what these kind of tape extensions are perfect for, because they're very, very flat to your head and they're just temporary. That's what I loved about them. I didn't want to have the proper bonded extensions because, one, I just felt like I wouldn't like the feel of them in my hair, and they're just too permanent for me. I need something that if I just feel really claustrophobic with it, I can take out for myself, which, as we know, I did. So there are so many benefits to having these done, but for a full head, it's really expensive to get that initial, all the hair you would need for kind of a full head of extensions of the gel abs. But what makes them cheaper and potentially more cost effective, depending on how long you can make them last, which I would say 6 to 8 weeks. It depends, I think they say like 2 to 6 weeks, but it really depends on you and how you look after them. I could have got 6 to 8 weeks out of mine. But what makes them more cost effective is the fact that you can have them reapplied. And I think they say something up to four times, but again, it depends on how well you look after them. So if you're really babying them and you're making sure you use lots of leave-in conditioner and oils and serums and things on the ends, and you're keeping them really shiny, heat protectant and things when you curl your hair, all that kind of stuff, the longer you, or the better you look after them, the longer you can have them for and the more you can have them reapplied. Now, what I really, really like about them is that you can have them coloured. So from my perspective, as someone who likes to change her hair all the time, I like the idea that you can have them done and then, let's say 6 months down the line, I really want them doing again. I have the hair. I don't have to pay for the hair again. All I need to do is bring it to them and say, right, I'm doing this with my hair, I now want it to be this colour. They can colour the hair, they can colour my hair, put them back in again, and it's a much smaller outlay. And you can keep having it coloured, but again, that's going to affect the condition of the hair and how often you actually can have them reapplied, or how many times you can have them reapplied. But I love the temporary nature of these extensions compared to other ones. I would say they are best suited to people that wear clip-in hair extensions on a regular basis. If you are used to having that extra hair, but it's a bit of a pain to have it, putting it in, taking out all the time, I think you would absolutely love these kind of hair extensions. For me, it was just such a shock to have so much hair to have to look after. My hair takes me minutes to do. It's really a quick thing to do hair when it's as short as mine, and then it was kind of like an hour-long process to get it from totally wet to totally dry, and it was quite a shock. I really loved them while I had them, and I would definitely consider having them again. I think it's a really fun thing that you can just kind of have this instantly long hair and not have to wait to grow it, because I do love change. I think if I did grow out my hair, I'd end up cutting it all off and just being really upset because it's taken me so long to grow it all that way. But I do think it's a really, really nice thing to have available to you, but it is very expensive. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you kind of know how expensive tape hair extensions are. You're probably considering them and just kind of wanting to know how people have experienced them. And my experience was good. I would definitely say just make sure anything you want doing to them, like cutting, you go to a professional that knows what they're doing and is a professional with hair extensions, preferably the person that had them fitted in the first place. If I'd gone to Kirby, who is the person that fitted mine, I'll leave all of their information below for great lengths, and the salon that had mine fitted at, then she would have done a really good job, and I would definitely go back to her. She was fantastic, really brilliant job of putting everything in my hair and everything feeling and looking really, really good. And she was so patient as well, because it was such a lot of hair that she had to apply. She did it all by herself. But yeah, I don't know, I'm probably missing tons and tons of information. I'm probably totally skipping over things that you guys would want to know. So let's call this part 1. And if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, then we'll do a Q&A follow-up. If you don't have any questions and no one is interested, then fair enough, we'll call this the be-all and end-all video. This is the only one. But if you do have a lot of questions, then I will do a Q&A follow-up. I just kind of can't think right now of the questions you might have. So that might be a better way of doing it. Hopefully this was useful to some of you that were maybe considering it, but I'll leave all the information below that you might want about these. Mine were provided to me for a review purpose, so I didn't pay for these. I would pay for them. If I wanted to have really, really long hair, I would pay for this service. I wouldn't go for the bonded hair extensions, not because I've had a bad experience, but purely because I don't like that they last 3 months. Some people love that, some people want that. And I wouldn't like the feeling of the tiny little bonds in my hair. This was definitely better for me. It was comfortable to sleep at night. They were flat to my head. I don't feel that there were obviously hair extensions kind of to look at my scalp. There was no worrying about kind of hiding bonds or anything like that. And they were like perfectly placed throughout my head, so everything was really even. If you wear clip-ins all the time, I think you would love these. But if you're not used to super long hair, I would recommend that you get some clip-ins and wear them every day and see whether or not you really want that permanently in your hair. Even if it's only temporarily permanently, you know, if you want them in day and night, you want to have to wash them and all that stuff before you actually commit. That would probably be a good idea. But yeah, anyway, I hope this was useful. If you do have any questions, I'll do a follow-up. I know it was rambly. I'll try and be more concise in the next one. And I'll leave a blog post as well with more photos and information in there for you if you're interested. Okay, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!